We have lived for decades as captives of the glowing rectangle. It is a small, flat piece of glass that has defined our interactions, our relationships, and our professional work. But today, the era of the screen is coming to an end. It isn't a slow decay, but rather a sudden metamorphosis. We are witnessing the birth of Android XR, a seismic shift in how humans interact with digital intelligence. The boundary between the physical world and the digital realm finally dissolves. We have stared into devices for years. Now, the device is the world itself. This is the reveal of a future we only saw in science fiction, now manifesting as a tangible reality through a new computing paradigm. This massive change required more than one company. An unprecedented alliance has formed, a triumvirate of tech giants ready to challenge the status quo. Google, the architect of the digital information age, has joined forces with Samsung and Qualcomm. This is not just a strategic partnership for a new phone or a simple wearable. It is a fundamental restructuring of the hardware and software relationship. Samsung brings the display technology that allows light to dance before our eyes, while Qualcomm provides the Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2, the silicon brain capable of processing the vast amounts of spatial data required to make digital objects feel as real as the chair you are sitting in. Together, they are crafting an ecosystem that aims to be the open standard for the next century of computing, challenging the walled gardens that have dominated the last decade. Think about your home, your office, or even the familiar streets of your neighborhood. In the old world, these were just physical locations where we used our gadgets. In the new world of Android XR, every surface and corner becomes a programmable interface. This new operating system does not live on a piece of glass tucked away in your pocket. Instead, it lives in the air around you. It exists in the space between your hands and the horizon. When you put on a pair of sleek, high-contrast glasses, the physical world lights up with vibrant digital layers that are seamlessly anchored to your environment. Your kitchen table becomes a high-performance workstation. Your living room floor becomes an immersive battlefield or a serene digital garden. The rollout is happening right now, transitioning with incredible speed from lab prototypes into consumer reality. Why is this happening now? Because traditional screens have finally reached their physical limit. We can only make a phone so large before it becomes unwieldy, and we can only make a monitor so bright before it causes fatigue. More importantly, artificial intelligence has outgrown its digital cage. AI, specifically the incredible power of Gemini, needs a body to truly evolve and assist us effectively. It needs to see what you see, understand the context of your surroundings, and interact with the physical tools in your life. By giving AI a spatial body through Android XR, it can finally move beyond being a text box on a screen and become a proactive companion that understands the three-dimensional world we inhabit. Most people look at these emerging headsets and think they are just another gadget, a toy for gamers or tech enthusiasts. They are wrong. This is the end of the smartphone era. Most people think this is just another gadget. They're wrong. This is the end of the smartphone era as we know it. We are moving from computing on a device to computing in the world. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This change is ubiquitous, and it is vital to understand how these layers will alter our perception. The transition is profound. Imagine walking through your office and seeing infinite virtual monitors floating where you need them, or navigating a new city where the directions are painted on the pavement in front of you. Every room in your house, your office, and the streets of your city become the new desktop. The status quo is being dismantled by this new interface, removing friction between thought and action. Reality is no longer a static thing. It is becoming programmable. The screen is dead, and the world is finally waking up. Right now, the world is changing. Don't blink. To understand the magnitude of this shift, we must look back at the trajectory of mobile computing. In 2008, the arrival of the T-Mobile G1, the first Android phone, signaled the start of a revolution. We marveled at carrying the internet in our pockets. However, this liberation came with an unforeseen price. Over the next 15 years, we effectively became slaves to the rectangle. This glass dictated our posture and attention. We traded our environmental awareness for a digital feed, constantly looking down and away from the world around us. This physical and psychological tethering created a barrier between human experience and digital utility. The industry realized that for technology to truly serve us, it had to move out of the palm of our hands and into our field of vision and our natural daily interactions. This evolution brings us to the core of the current revolution: extended reality, or XR. While the terms VR and AR are often thrown around interchangeably, they represent very different philosophies. Virtual reality, or VR, is about immersion, taking the user out of their physical reality and placing them in a completely digital one. It is powerful for gaming or specialized training, but it is isolating. Augmented reality, or AR, attempts to enhance the real world by overlaying digital elements, but early versions often felt like flat stickers placed on a 3D world. Android XR represents the sophisticated fusion of these concepts, often called mixed reality. It understands depth and physical persistence. It doesn't just show you a digital object, it understands that the object should cast a shadow on your actual wooden desk and remain there even if you walk out of the room and return later. Google's journey to this point was not a straight line. Many remember the experimental phase of Google Glass in 2013. It was a bold attempt to break the screen's monopoly, but it faced significant hurdles. The hardware was limited, the social reception was skeptical, and the cameras raised early privacy concerns. More importantly, the AI required to make sense of the visual data simply did not exist yet. Google realized that building the frame was useless without a brain to power it. This led to a strategic pivot. For nearly a decade, Google stepped back from the wearable hardware limelight to focus on the invisible infrastructure, the AI. They poured resources into machine learning and large language models, eventually leading to the creation of Gemini. This transition was vital. Android XR is not just a new interface, it is the physical manifestation of Gemini's intelligence. The connection between AI and wearable tech is the missing link that failed previous attempts at spatial computing. Gemini provides the multimodal capabilities that allow the OS to process images, sounds, and spatial coordinates simultaneously. When you wear an Android XR device, the AI isn't just waiting for a prompt, it is actively observing. It uses the sensors powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2 to map your surroundings with millimeter precision. This spatial intelligence means the AI knows the difference between a window and a wall, a cup and a computer. It understands the context of your life. This is where Google differentiates itself from its primary competitors, Apple and Meta. While Apple's Vision Pro offers a high-end closed ecosystem and Meta's Quest focuses heavily on social and gaming, Google positions Android XR as the open and accessible standard. By partnering with Samsung and Qualcomm, Google is replicating the success of the original Android ecosystem. Samsung provides the cutting-edge micro-OLED displays that make digital light indistinguishable from physical matter, while Qualcomm Silicon provides the raw horsepower to process billions of calculations per second. This trio is building a world where developers can create apps that work across various hardware types, preventing the fragmentation that often kills new tech movements. They are building the Windows of the spatial era, a platform designed for work, play, and everything in between. But the most intense realization is that this isn't just about better visuals. Google is creating a way for AI to see what you see, turning every glance into a data point for helpfulness. This raises the stakes of our relationship with technology. We are moving toward a future where the AI understands our world as well as we do, and that is where the narrative truly shifts into this uncharted and exciting territory. With the foundation of Android XR established through the strategic alliance of Google, Samsung, and Qualcomm, the true transformation begins where the software touches the physical world. For years, artificial intelligence was confined to a small box, a text field where you typed a query and waited for a static response. That era is over. As AI escapes the screen, it undergoes a metamorphosis from a reactive tool into an active participant in your surroundings. This intelligent interface does not just exist on top of your reality. It weaves itself into the fabric of your environment. It recognizes your furniture, your kitchen tools, and the architectural layout of your office. The distinction between a digital file and a physical object begins to blur as the operating system treats every surface as a potential canvas for productivity and assistance. This seamless integration is powered by advanced spatial awareness. Using an array of high-precision sensors and cameras, Android XR maps your room in real time, creating a high-fidelity digital twin of your physical space. This mapping isn't just about identifying obstacles, it is about the AI becoming aware of physical boundaries and the properties of objects. When you place a virtual window on your wall, it stays anchored there, respecting the laws of physics and the constraints of the room. If a chair is moved, the system adapts instantly. This level of environmental understanding is what allows the AI to transition from a digital assistant to a spatial companion. It knows where the floor is, it understands the depth of a table, and it recognizes the difference between a glass window and an open doorway. The true power behind this spatial awareness is the multimodal capability of Gemini. Because the AI can process visual data in real time, it understands context in a way that previous generations of technology never could. Consider a common household frustration: a leaking pipe or a broken sink. In the old world, you would look down at a phone, search for a tutorial, and try to look back and forth between the screen and the plumbing. With Android XR, you simply look at the sink. Gemini identifies the specific model of the faucet and the location of the leak. Instantly, an interactive 3D overlay appears directly on the pipes, highlighting exactly which nut needs tightening and which valve needs to be turned. It is as if an expert repairman is standing beside you, pointing with digital light. The information is no longer a separate thing to be studied. It is an integrated layer of the task itself. Interacting with this intelligence requires a departure from traditional input methods. We are moving beyond the era of typing and clicking. Android XR utilizes multimodal input, allowing users to communicate through their eyes, hands, and voice. Eye tracking technology makes the interface feel telepathic. You select a virtual object simply by looking at it. Natural hand gestures allow you to reach out and grab digital elements, resizing windows or moving tools as if they were physical items on a desk. Voice commands, processed with the linguistic nuance of Gemini, allow for complex instructions that feel like a conversation rather than a set of code. This trinity of input methods creates a flow state where the friction of the interface disappears, leaving only the user's intent and the AI's execution. None of this would be possible without the specialized hardware developed through the partnership between Samsung and Qualcomm. The heart of the experience is the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2 chip. This processor is a marvel of engineering, specifically designed to handle the massive computational load of spatial computing. It manages high-resolution video pass-through with nearly zero latency, ensuring that the digital and physical worlds remain perfectly synchronized. Simultaneously, Samsung's display technology provides the visual fidelity necessary to make this illusion believable. Their micro OLED panels deliver pixel densities that eliminate the screen door effect, making virtual text as sharp as a printed book and digital colors as vibrant as the world around them. The technical complexity of this system is hidden behind a mask of total simplicity. From the user's perspective, the AI can now see what you see, and more importantly, it understands it instantly. There is no waiting for a cloud server to process any complex requests. The transition from a reactive tool to an environmental layer fundamentally alters how we perceive the concept of space. For decades, professional lives were defined by the size of a desk and the number of physical monitors we could afford. Android XR declares the death of the monitor. There is no longer a reason to purchase heavy pieces of plastic when the hardware can project infinite 100-inch virtual displays into the air. Your home office is no longer a confined corner. It is a limitless digital canvas. You can have your email floating near the window, spreadsheets on the wall, and a video conference on your actual desk, all while maintaining a clear view of your surroundings. Samsung's micro OLED technology makes these virtual windows look solid, with vibrant colors and sharp text. This level of clarity is vital for tasks that require long hours of focus. By eliminating the physical constraints of traditional hardware, we unlock a level of productivity that was previously impossible. You are no longer hunched over a keyboard. You are moving and interacting with data as if it were physical architecture, reducing the strain that has defined the computer age. This shift extends into the realm of play, where imagination is no longer limited by a television frame. The future of gaming under Android XR is not about escaping reality, but about inviting the game into your world, creating a hybrid environment that feels tangibly alive. Instead of watching a character on a distant panel, your living room becomes the game level. Your couch becomes tactical cover in a shooter, or your carpet transforms into a digital garden where creatures interact with your furniture. The walls of your apartment might crumble away to reveal a Martian landscape, yet you remain aware of your physical surroundings, preventing disorientation. This is the ultimate synthesis of the imaginary and the tangible, removing the barrier of the fourth wall. Every corner of your home becomes a potential playground, and every object you own can become a game mechanic. Productivity 2. Zio bridges human distance through collaborative holostreams. Video calls are exhausting because they reduce presence to a flat grid of faces. Android XR changes the social chemistry of collaboration. Imagine sitting at your kitchen table while coworkers from continents appear as digital avatars in the empty chairs across from you. Gemini processes the spatial data to ensure that these avatars don't clip through your furniture, making the illusion of shared space professional. You can share a 3D model, passing it back and forth as if it were a solid object. You can see their eye movements and gestures, restoring the non-verbal cues lost in communication. This is not just a call. It is a shared presence that eliminates the isolation of remote work, making a global team feel like they are in the same room. In daily life, the integration becomes more helpful. Walking through a city street with Android XR is like having a digital superpower. As you navigate the urban landscape, Android XR seamlessly integrates with the Internet of Things. You can see the real-time arrival of your bus projected directly onto the street, or check the availability of a table inside a cafe simply by glancing at the window. This provides digital clarity that makes navigation intuitive. Real-time ratings float above restaurant doors. Historical facts appear near monuments. Directions are projected as a soft, glowing path on the sidewalk. This is the realization of the flow state, where the friction between having a question and receiving an answer is zero. You will never have to look down at a notification again because the world itself will tell you what you need to know. Think about the psychological impact. For 2 decades, the smartphone slouch has been the default human posture. We have been conditioned to look down, away from the world, to connect. Android XR acts as a pattern interrupt, forcing us to look up and engage. The world becomes a programmable interface, a living document we can edit in real time. The screen was a destination. This new reality is a state of being. The digital and physical are no longer separate. They are a single experience where AI, powered by Gemini and hardware from Google, Samsung, and Qualcomm, ensures every element feels grounded and useful. This is not just a change in technology. It is a fundamental evolution of human perception that will redefine our social and professional existence. The physical constraints of the monitor are dissolving, and the shockwaves of this change are felt far beyond the confines of a home office. This transition triggers a massive industrial disruption, a tidal wave threatening any company clinging to the old paradigm of hardware. For decades, the global economy has revolved around the production of physical rectangles. Televisions and smartphone screens are the primary exports of entire nations and the core revenue streams for multinational giants. However, Android XR makes these products redundant. Why would a consumer spend thousands of dollars on a high-definition television that occupies a permanent place on a wall when lightweight spectacles can project a theater-sized cinematic experience anywhere? The demand for glass panels and plastic casings is destined to plummet, forcing manufacturers to either pivot toward the spatial revolution or face the same fate as the typewriter. This shift isn't just about the hardware that dies. It is about the new digital economy being born in its place. We are witnessing a historic gold rush as developers abandon the confines of flat, two-dimensional apps. The new App Store is not a list of icons on a grid. It is a catalog of spatial experiences designed to inhabit a three-dimensional world. This requires a fundamental retraining of the global developer workforce. Coding is no longer just about logic and user interface buttons. It is about architecture, physics, and spatial acoustics. A developer making a cooking app for Android XR doesn't just show a video. They create a digital ghost that stands next to the user at their actual stove, guiding their hands through a recipe. In this landscape, the open platform of Android XR stands in stark contrast to the walled gardens of Apple and Meta, offering a decentralized future for spatial engineering. However, as the digital and physical worlds fuse, we must confront the elephant in the room, the absolute erosion of traditional privacy. For Android XR to function, it must constantly see and map everything in the user's environment. Through sensors powered by Qualcomm and the intelligence of Gemini, the system knows the layout of your home, the brands in your pantry, and the faces of every person you interact with. This creates a level of data collection that is unprecedented in human history. If the AI sees everything you see, the question of who owns that visual data becomes a central conflict of the spatial era. Google faces the monumental task of convincing a skeptical public that this constant surveillance is a fair trade for the utility of the system. If the data is mishandled, the spatial revolution could become the ultimate panopticon, where every private moment is recorded and monetized by the infrastructure of the intelligent interface. Beyond the economic and ethical debates, there is the psychological reality of living with a permanent digital overlay. Our brains are highly plastic, but they have never been subjected to a reality where information is constantly synthesized with biological sight. Psychologists are beginning to study how the human mind will adapt to this double vision. When navigation arrows are burned into the sidewalk and social media notifications float over the faces of our friends, our perception of what is real begins to shift. There is a risk of sensory overload, a digital fatigue where the mind loses the ability to find quiet in a world that is always on. Android XR acts as a pattern interrupt, keeping us connected, but also risking a detachment from the raw, unmediated experience of the physical world. Base reality is no longer enough for our information-hungry brains. This brings us to the growing concern of the digital divide. As spatial computing becomes the new standard for work and social interaction, the gap between those who can afford the hardware and those who cannot will widen into a chasm. If an Android XR user can process information faster and navigate the world with AI assistance, those without the technology are at a permanent disadvantage. We are talking about a cognitive upgrade. This could create a tiered society where the wealthy live in a vibrant, information-rich, augmented world, while others are stuck in a base reality that feels empty. AI is no longer just a tool. It is a layer of reality for the future. The battle for dominance in this new landscape is not just about who has the best hardware. It is a fundamental clash of ideologies that will define the digital boundaries of our lives. On one side, we have the walled garden of Apple, a closed ecosystem designed for total control, polished exclusivity, and high-margin hardware. On the other side stands Android XR, the standard bearer for an open platform approach. This is a repeat of the smartphone wars of the late 2000s, but the stakes are exponentially higher because the prize is the very air we breathe and the world we see. Google is positioning Android XR to be the Windows of the spatial era, a universal operating system that can run on a variety of devices, from premium headsets to budget-friendly glasses. This inclusivity is the key to global adoption. By collaborating with Samsung and Qualcomm, Google is creating a hardware-software synergy that challenges the notion that high-end spatial computing must be tethered to a single, expensive brand. The Snapdragon XR2 Plus Gen 2 chip by Qualcomm acts as the beating heart of this movement, providing the raw power needed to render complex digital worlds while maintaining the thermal efficiency required for a wearable device. This isn't just about processing speed, it's about the ability to process the massive amounts of multimodal data flowing through Gemini in real time. Samsung brings the display technology, creating lenses that can switch between total immersion and transparent augmentation with the flick of a digital switch. This partnership ensures that Android XR isn't just a niche product for tech enthusiasts, but a global standard that can scale to millions of users. The roadmap for the next 24 months is aggressive, with developer conferences already buzzing with the promise of spatial-first applications. We are moving beyond the era of bulky goggles that isolate the user from their surroundings. The ultimate goal is the transition to sleek, everyday spectacles that look like ordinary fashion accessories but hold the power of a supercomputer. The role of connectivity cannot be overstated in this competition. For an intelligent interface to be truly seamless, it requires the ultra-fast, low-latency pipes of 5G and the upcoming 6G networks. Without this fuel, the spatial layer would stutter, breaking the illusion and destroying the user's flow state. The vision is a world where your glasses don't need a heavy internal hard drive because the heavy lifting is done in the cloud and beamed to your eyes in milliseconds. This is why the urgency is so palpable. Prototypes are already being tested in the wild, often hidden in plain sight. These devices are being fine-tuned to ensure they don't just work, but feel natural. The speed at which this technology is maturing has caught many by surprise. While the world was focused on the evolution of the smartphone, the era of spatial intelligence was being built in the shadows of research labs and silicon foundries. Apple's Vision Pro set a high bar for fidelity, but its price point and restrictive nature keep it within a limited circle. Android XR, by contrast, is designed to be ubiquitous. It is an invitation to every developer and every manufacturer to build upon a shared foundation. This battle for your eyes will define the next decade of human history. Will our reality be governed by a single corporate entity, or will it be a diverse, open ecosystem where innovation can come from anywhere? The milestones are clear. We are approaching the tipping point where these devices become as common as headphones. The cultural shift is already underway, as the early adopters begin to demonstrate the immense utility of having a world that responds to their gaze. We are watching the birth of a new medium, one that combines the reach of the internet with the physicality of the real world. This intelligent interface is no longer a futuristic dream. It is an imminent reality that is currently being deployed across the globe. The global standard is being written in real time, and the momentum is shifting toward the flexibility of Android XR, threatening to leave the old screen-based world behind forever as we enter the era of the programmable atmosphere. The transition from computing on a singular device to computing within the structure of the world marks the final departure from the industrial age of information. For nearly a century, we have been conditioned to look toward a specific object to find answers: a television, a monitor, or a smartphone. Android XR effectively dissolves these objects, turning the very air into a functional canvas. This shift is not merely technological, it is biological. We are moving from a state of external observation to a state of internal immersion. When the digital layer is perfectly synchronized with the physical environment, the distinction between the two begins to fade into irrelevance. This programmable future means that our surroundings are no longer static. A blank wall is a cinema, a kitchen table is a laboratory, and a park bench is a portal to a distant boardroom. The repercussions of this fluidity are profound, reshaping our understanding of ownership, presence, and reality itself. We are reclaiming the three-dimensional world, but we are returning to it with the infinite power of the cloud at our fingertips. In this new era, the human element remains the most critical variable. There is a persistent fear that by overlaying digital data onto our lives, we might further isolate ourselves within personalized digital bubbles, locked away in a private hallucination. However, the promise of Android XR is actually one of reintegration. Unlike the smartphone, which forces the user to look down and away from the person in front of them, spatial computing allows for eye contact and shared experiences. It keeps the head up and the gaze forward, grounded in the immediate surroundings. By making the interface transparent and contextual, Gemini ensures that technology serves the moment rather than stealing it. We are entering a phase where digital interactions can feel as natural as a conversation across a kitchen table. The intelligent interface is designed to fade into the background, becoming an intuitive extension of our own senses rather than a demanding master of our attention. It is technology that respects the human form. Ultimately, this technology is not about making life more complex, but about removing the friction of the modern world. It is about a world that anticipates needs before they are even articulated. It is the end of searching through tedious menus and the beginning of simply knowing. The final promise of Android XR is the democratization of expertise. If anyone can see the world through the lens of an expert with instructions, translations, and insights overlaid in real time, the barriers to learning and productivity are essentially dismantled. This is the ultimate tool for human empowerment, a bridge between raw data and actionable wisdom. We are no longer limited by what we have memorized, but by what we are willing to perceive through the digital veil. The complexity of the world becomes manageable when an intelligent partner is always watching and helping you navigate the intricacies of daily life. As we stand at the precipice of this change, a fundamental question remains for every user. Are you ready to stop looking at a screen and start living inside the internet? This is a choice that defines the current generation. The transition will be subtle at first. a few more pairs of glasses on the street, a few more people gesturing at the air. But the momentum is irreversible. The screen is dying, and its departure clears the way for a reality that is more vibrant, more interactive, and more incredible than any science fiction movie ever predicted. We are witnessing the final moments of the rectangle reign. What follows is a world where thought and manifestation are separated by nothing more than a glance and a subtle movement of the hand. But as we master the spatial layer, the horizon is shifting. Android XR is the bridge to a deeper integration. Just as the smartphone prepared us for the headset, the intelligent interface is preparing us for the next step, the direct link. While we learn to navigate the world with our eyes, the foundations for brain-computer interfaces like Neuralink are already being laid. The journey from the pocket to the face is only the beginning. The final destination is the mind itself. Reality wakes. Don't blink.